Hello, this is Vincent
And Valerie
Woodard,
Woodard.
and welcome to Couples Pursuit Live. Tonight on Couples Pursuit,
We want to talk about the subject of communication.
what? So what?
You're so silly. I said we want to talk about the subject of
Right,
communication,
right,
right?
right, right, right.
And even more so, we want to talk about five types of communication,
There's five of them?
at least. And well, first let's look at the definition of communication. We all think we know what communication is, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
ask anybody, they'll probably say, well, it's just when two people have a conversation, when
Mm-hmm.
they talk to each
When
other.
they talk to each other,
Right.
not with each other.
When they talk to one another,
Mm-hmm.
when they share information.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that many times in the past, even before we started with couples pursuit, I would hear lots of couples say, my husband and I, my boyfriend and I, my fiance and I, whomever, my
Mm-hmm.
significant other and I, we don't communicate.
Yeah, that's a common
Yeah.
issue that I hear
Mhm.
with men, and I hear from women speaking,
Mhm.
just in general, but in the circle of men also,
Mhm.
they're saying that the wives are saying that they don't communicate with them, they don't
Right.
talk enough, they don't share
Mhm.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that is, as you'll see in the description, I said that many people report that there's a lack of communication, and
Mm,
and really, if we dig deeper, the issue is not a lack of communication; it's the type of communication
whoa.
that we're having. Because if it's an issue, then it's ineffective communication, because
Mm,
we're always communicating something.
okay.
We're always saying something, in the way that we move, the way that we talk, the way we respond. Um, and you and I, we went through many years of ineffective,
In effect.
ineffective communication.
Yes, yes.
And, it took a toll on our relationship. It took us backwards,
mm.
or either kept us stagnant for so many years. And
I
it's
think
a,
we I think we added some stuff to it. I know we're gonna talk about five types,
right.
but we added some miscommunication.
Yeah.
We added some um, non-attempt communication. we
Non-attempt communication, strained communication,
yeah,
disrespectful
we're not
communication,
recommending these types tonight.
avoiding communication. No, but seriously, let's look at the definition of communication,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Or to commune or communicate or communication. Basically, it's to converse confidently and sympathetically.
Mm,
Okay, that's the main reason why I say it's not a lack of communication, is the type of communication, because they're not
mm,
feeling um, confident in it, and they don't feel any sympathy in the
mm-hmm,
communication that they're having. But more often, or more importantly, to communicate is to impart something to another,
mm,
so that it becomes common to both the giver and the receiver.
yes,
And that's the
yes.
important part, that sometimes we like to talk so that the other person knows how we're feeling,
Mm-hmm,
what we're thinking, what we believe, what we want. And we also need to listen to that person to hear what they're thinking, feeling,
mm-hmm.
want, need, and desire. And the breakdown comes when we don't.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. I like the definition. What you said is to impart
Mhm.
something that's common to the giver and the receiver.
Yeah.
I say to listen with empathy,
Mhm.
to learn how to actually hear from the other person's ears what you think they're saying, to see from the
Mhm.
other person's eyes what are their perspective,
Right.
and feel the other person's heart.
Right.
Like their feelings, like see how they can actually feel in this moment, and especially when we're having a communication, we're
Mhm.
kind of passing that to each other. It's like, this is what's going on with me, and I'm
Mhm.
sharing this with you. It
Right.
took me a don't say nothing. It took me a
What
long
you
time
mean?
to learn that.
How can we
Okay,
communicate if I don't get to say anything?
you're right. See, there I go. There I go.
It took you a long time
To learn how to listen as we're sharing, not like she's accusing me of something, not like she's come to me, oh Lord, she got a problem with me. Oh, what did I do? You
yeah.
know, listen with a defense mechanism already attacked. All those things.
Yeah, that was really difficult. I mean, if we can be really transparent and talk about, and you'll see in these 5 types of communication that we're going to talk about tonight, we will see ourselves all throughout it. Because one thing that you hit on is it is something you used to say often that why are you always attacking me?
Mm.
And I would be so dumbfounded by that. It's like, I'm not attacking you. I'm trying to have a conversation. I
Mm-hmm.
want to discuss why we keep coming to this impasse. You know,
Mm-hmm.
why we keep getting to a point where we are ineffective in our communication with
Mm.
each other. And to me, what I have summed it up to be is that he doesn't like me to tell him anything that I'm displeased with. You don't want to hear my opinion about
I hope I hear
anything
that.
that doesn't, that doesn't
That was
agree.
old me, yes, yes.
That was the old you, but and I love you so much because you're not that guy anymore. But it gave me an insight that I didn't have before, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why we are to listen and talk to one another so that the conversation, what comes out of it, is common to the giver and the receiver.
That's right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I, the way that you felt wasn't founded. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't necessary, or it
Mm.
wasn't provoked. It was the
That's
way
right.
that you felt.
Mm-hmm.
It
That,
didn't
that
have
defense
anything
mechanism.
necessarily
Yeah.
to do with what I was saying. It's the
Mm-mm.
fact that I was saying something. It's like, whatever you have to say, I don't want to hear
It
it.
wasn't me.
If you're not pleased, I didn't do it. I'm doing all I can. I'm working hard. I'm going to work every day. I'm coming home every day. And I'm doing my duties, so you shouldn't have a problem with me.
Mm.
So whatever it is, keep it. I don't want to hear it. Now he
Woo.
didn't say it like that, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. And to him, it felt like I was attacking him. If I said,
Mm.
"Well, baby, I don't really like it when you keep the microwave on high."
I thought I was doing a good thing by leaving.
Listen, don't put the microwave on high. Don't cook everything. No, I'm just joking. That comes from some stand up or
Kevin
something.
Hart.
Kevin Hart from years ago. But I never even saw it, but he said it so many times. I'm just like, okay. But anyway, so whatever, fill in the blank. It's not really about what I was saying to him.
Mm-hmm.
It was the fact that I was saying something to him
Mm-hmm.
that he did not want to hear. I don't want to hear that I have not pleased you,
Mm-hmm.
or I haven't met whatever standard he thought I had for him.
That's right.
And the standard that I do have and I did have for him is one of respect,
Mm.
mutual
Yes.
respect. And when I
Respect.
when I wasn't able to communicate the things that I wanted to say, how I felt about something, that I was displeased with something, no matter how small it was, that was a breakdown in communication.
That's right.
For
Right.
us.
And if you join us tonight, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Communication, and we're going to list at least 5 types. There's so many, but we're
Yeah.
going to list at least 5 types that we'll probably actually do knowingly or not knowingly, and then how they actually impact the other person that you're talking to.
Right.
You know.
So the first type of communication we want to talk about is the most common type, where 2 people have a verbal conversation with one another. I say something, the other person says something, and depending upon how we, perceive what is being said or done can determine the length of the conversation and the tone of the conversation, the pitch of the conversation, the direction of the conversation, and all of that. So basically, verbal communication occurs when we talk to each other. It could be face to face, it could be over the phone. These days, it could be Zoom. It could even be like the platform we're on right now on Facebook. It could be, what do you call that? FaceTime, anything like that. So you just are chatting with the person, And regardless of the type, it's not about the words. It's about the caliber or the quality of those words.
Exactly.
And the complexity of those words. The time that you take to think about what it is that you want to say, whether you're speaking from your heart or you're speaking from your, we call it the flesh, whether you're speaking from your feelings, and if those feelings are founded in fear or anger or guilt or frustration, all of those things can determine how you communicate to your partner. So the first one is verbal communication. And it's really important that we take responsibility for what it is that we say.
Yes.
In one of our many encounters, we would talk about how, if you hadn't done this, I wouldn't have done that. And we have to be adult enough to know that no one is responsible for our actions. No matter what my husband says or does, I'm responsible for how I respond to it.
That's right. And I think that response speaks volumes. Because like, I remember we used to say, well, why'd you say it like that? I mean, well, why'd you raise your voice? Or why you say it in that tone? Or, it's verbal. All of it is verbal communication. But the tonality of it, the way that we speak, especially like my wife said, what's in our heart, it comes out.
Right.
And your mind was like, well, I'm not going to say this from a mad place or an angry place. I'm gonna say it from a nice calm place. But your heart was like, I'm upset.
I feel something.
She gonna feel my wrath.
And even if you don't, if you don't feel like, well, I want her to feel my wrath. If you're even in your processing, however you feel comes out. And I wanna say that there's a scripture that says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. And I think that's what you were referring to. It's like whatever's in there is going to come out.
Yeah.
It's going to come out. So we can say verbally one thing.
Yeah.
And really feel another thing. And then because a person can't technically see our feelings, we think that they don't sense our feelings, that they don't know that, well, that's not usually the way you say, like if we had a disagreement and, we kiss each other and say, I love you every morning before he leaves for work, and we, get an embrace. And if I say, okay, babe, love you, have a good day. Or I say, okay, love you, have a good day.
Or you just say, I love you, you say,
love you too. I say it back. I said love you too, but how I said it, it's like there's a lot under there. In how I said it. Whether I turn my face toward you, or whether I bother to pull the covers from over my head, or whatever I don't normally do, is a full indicator of what's going on.
Yeah. What you went to sleep with, what's on your heart, what was weighing down on your mind, and that is still around. Whatever was going on is still around.
Right.
And we might think we're hiding it. Okay, I'm just going to be pleasant. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to bring it up.
Yeah.
But
well, I kissed you. I said good morning. I said, and then we get into defense mode, because then we get like Adam and Eve and try to cover it. And it's like, don't you know I see you. I feel that. And so that leads us to the next, it rolls right into nonverbal communication, because see, I said good morning. I said I love you. I said bye, right? But it's the way that I said it.
Yeah.
I said it with salt and pepper. Right? I said it with salt and pepper. So, that nonverbal communication that's strong. We are sensitive creatures, or we're creatures with 5 senses. We don't just hear, we see, we taste, we smell, we touch. And sometimes some of us are born, or either life happens to us and we may lose, or may be born without, maybe without sight. And so what happens with people who are impaired in one of their senses, the other senses are stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So we accommodate for that. So it's foolishness to think that if we behave differently, the one who's closest to us, the one that we share all of our time with,
Mm-hmm.
the one that we share our intimate thoughts and expressions with, that they're not going to know it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also an insult, and it's disingenuous to tell them that we feel other.
That's right. So, but
Yeah.
side note. So, what sense are you lacking? Because your sense of smell and your hearing is supersonic. I was listening to everything you were saying.
Right.
But that part right there.
Well, I think in the same token, some people have a heightened sense of smell or hearing, and it's
hear everything.
I do. I hear things I don't want to hear.
I could be eating some chips, and I think I'm doing a great job. She look at me. Okay, off my side note.
And he thinks it sounds like how you do it, and to me it sounds like, and I'm like, okay. It really, to me, it feels like I'm inside of his head.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. But I know most people do not feel that way. So sometimes I'm good about not saying anything, and sometimes I'm not.
Okay. If you join us tonight, you're joining us. We're talking about five types
of communication. And just to recap, many couples struggle with what they think is a lack of communication. And we just want to clarify that they are communicating.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not communicating well.
Exactly.
Or they're not communicating in a way that is beneficial to them, to each party. So we've already talked about verbal communication. Of course, those are the words that you say. And it's not just the words you say, it's how you say it. It's what tone you say it in. It's the pitch that you use. It's the quality of the words that you use. And when I say quality, I want to talk about poor choices of words to use. Two of the words that I do not like to use when we have disagreements, because we don't fight anymore. We don't do fighting. But when we have disagreements,
nobody got time for that.
Yeah. And discussions, we like each other, so we like to spend our time loving on one another, planning, and all those things. That doesn't mean that he doesn't get on my nerves and I don't get on his. It just means we don't dwell on it. We talk about it. We get past it. We communicate. Okay, what is it that I'm feeling? Why am I feeling this?
That's right.
Then we evaluate our own stuff. Right? I talk about how I'm feeling. I think about how I'm feeling now before I will even say anything to him. And why might I be feeling this way?
Yes.
Is it me? Or is it him?
Yeah.
Okay, it might be you, so you need to check yourself. You need to go somewhere and pray, or you just need to be quiet, or you just need to let it pass you, because it's a temptation to get into, disagreement with my spouse. And, nothing should come between us.
No.
Nothing.
And we can come between ourselves. That's the crazy part about that. The way we deal with each other. And I've learned that the more I try to understand, like, sometimes we say, where did all that come from? Well, actually, like, try to do the monk thing, that detective. Actually try to figure it out.
You telling your age, monk. Do
What
y'all know who
led
monk is?
what series of events led to her coming to this conclusion about whatever it is, she's upset about.
What's making you feel that way? And then what adds fuel to the fire, as I was talking about before, is the quality of words. So if I come to him, or he comes to me and he says, babe, whatever the issue might be, and I say, well, what's wrong with you? What's wrong now? What I do now? I'm already off-putting, right?
Yeah.
It's already like, well, dang, I can't talk to her. And if he's already feeling offended
Mm-hmm.
or insecure about something that I've said to him, that is only going to compound that.
Yep.
And vice
Mm-hmm.
versa, same thing. And also when I say poor quality of words, it's we don't call each other names, and
Mm-mm.
we
Or
don't
say
curse
those.
at each other and that kind of stuff just because we feel
Yeah.
angry. I love to say this because God gave me this revelation, and I just it has really helped my life.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions are indicators, not instructions.
That's right.
The way that I feel is not to determine the way that I behave.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I feel is to cause me to be introspective, to reflect about where am I, why am I feeling this way, what's driving this,
Mm-hmm.
is it fear, guilt, or shame? If it is, I know that doesn't come from God. That comes from the enemy. So I need to deal with that thing and do what the word tells me to do, which is take captive those thoughts,
Mm.
right? I have to take captive the thoughts that come to my mind because every thought that comes to my mind is not my own.
Mm.
It's sent to me
Hold,
either
hold,
from
hold, 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 hold. Say that again. Somebody needs to hear that.
somebody probably gonna think I'm crazy, but every thought that comes to my mind is not my own. And that was a huge revelation for me. We exist in this world where there is either, and it is our full faith and belief,
Mm-hmm.
that it's either dark or it's light.
Mm-hmm.
There's no in between. And so either I'm influenced by the Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
the Holy Spirit of God, or I'm being influenced by evil or the enemy or Satan or
Mhm.
Lucifer, or however you want to call that, right? Whichever name you want
The
to call
adversary.
him, the adversary, right? And so then he only comes to kill, steal, and destroy.
Mm-hmm.
And so if a thought that is in my mind that I have come up with is of evil and not of good, I need to examine that thought before I digest it.
Mm-hmm.
Because then if I digest it, that is the result that happens when I say out of the abundance of the heart,
Mm-hmm.
the mouth speaketh. Because whatever I meditate on sinks down from my head into my heart. And that
Preach
becomes
that. Mm.
It's so
I'm sorry.
and it becomes a part of who I am. I mean, just for example, have you ever met someone who thinks, a beautiful person who thinks they're ugly? You can't convince them otherwise.
Yeah.
Something or someone, some situation has convinced them, I'm not smart. I'm ugly. I'm dumb. I'm never going to be anything. And maybe somebody has told them that. People are cruel enough to do that, and they have digested that thing, and they have believed that thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot get them not to believe it
Mm.
because that is what they have meditated on. And so I have to take captive my thoughts so that I'm careful about what I house, what I feed. And so I'm then not regurgitating that in my own life. And then I'm not punishing my husband and his thoughts or behavior towards me
Mm.
with the thoughts that I have against myself,
Mm-hmm. Vice
Right?
versa. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that I accepted from the enemy. So I have to re-examine, and then I have to remind myself, what does God say about me?
Mm-hmm.
He says I'm fearfully and wonderfully made.
Mm-hmm.
He says that he will never leave me nor forsake me. I'm his,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll take care of me. And my husband is not my enemy.
Mm-mm.
That is a lie from the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
My husband is not my enemy. So for us to get in opposition with one another is the first sign that we don't know who we are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is so true.
Yeah.
And even when you, we like to say, well, I say like bump heads, or you really, it's really something that's really bothering you, and y'all really at an impasse. We don't even know if we can finish talking about it. We both might want to just like leave the conversation, but then even
Table it.
in those moments, we have to remember that that's not your enemy. Whatever this division is, whatever this is coming up that keeps raising its head, that is the thing we need to tackle. That is the thing that's the obstacle we need to overcome. That's the we need to focus on it. My wife used to focus on my attitude when we talk. Not, it wasn't like me. You always you sow this and you sow that. It wasn't that. It was the attitude. It was something in my flesh that kept rising up, and it was that like, what is that? And that's the thing.
I was after that.
Yeah, like
and he was agitated that I was after it. I'm like, what is that thing? What is the anger? Where is that coming from? Because I knew that although I am so imperfect, I knew I wasn't doing anything to cause that type of reaction. It's like there's something going on in there that I don't know about. And I was so like on a hunt after it. I want to know what that is. I mean, I went to the library, I got books, I prayed, I anointed, I did all the things I could think of doing. I cried, I you know, threatened to leave. I did everything I could. I left. I did all of those things trying to get at the root of what is going on, that we keep getting to this place where you feel like it's okay to aggressively speak to me.
Yes.
To feel, I felt like I was his enemy. And it was so, it's such a stark contrast from who he was 95% of the time. But it took him digging and doing that introspection, like I was talking about. He had to do that for himself to figure out, okay, it's not her. And if I want this to work, I have to find another way.
Exactly.
To deal with my emotions.
It wasn't me. It wasn't just how I am.
Right.
And I did believe that. I did believe that this is who I am. This is I'm saying who God made me to be. I was lying because I just didn't know.
You was stuck.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. And then and that's another testimony. I'm pretty sure you stay with us long enough, you'll hear about it. But once I actually got to the root and started searching for the root of that anger, of that frustration, and actually that was revealed to me that I didn't know. A dear friend of ours that came to minister to us, I would say counsel us, but I think she came to minister to us, and she just pointed at me, like, but she's kind of pointing at my heart. She was like, "You're frustrated." So what I'm saying is, guys, that it is sometimes there is something deep down inside that you might not even knew was there, and you just chalk it up to, okay, well, just how I was raised. That's how the guys did it where I came from, whatever. But until you actually start searching for the root of whatever it is, that anger, that frustration, that whatever it is that is impeding progress in your marriage, and it's coming from you. Once you start searching for the root of that, until you start searching for the root of that thing, you're going to find yourself in situations where, like my wife said, she wanted to leave, she left, she came back, we argued and fight, and we were still going on and on until I actually had to deal with myself and look inward. So it's so important. And baby, thank you for being so transparent. And I will say, and I've said it before, just because that was the issue he had doesn't mean that I was perfect, because I wasn't. I had my own issues, and part of them, what's interesting is that I said before, the enemy comes but to kill, steal, and destroy, right? And so that was his issue. My issue was the insecurity and the rejection that I had experienced in my life were magnified when his anger came. And so it's like the enemy would use his issues to magnify my issues, and my issues to irritate him, because of the way that I responded. And it was so mind-boggling, so it seemed, until we really got ourselves to the point where we said, well, let us focus on what the real problem is. I was praying, well, Lord, he get him, fix him, all of that. And the Lord was saying to me, well, ma'am. That was the lower cost?
Little girl. Come here, little girl. Let me talk to you for a minute. And he told me, I shared this with him most recently this weekend, that the Holy Spirit said, leave him alone.
Mm.
He said, that's my son. Leave him alone.
Wow.
Because I was trying to make it, I was trying to tell him, you wrong about this, and you shouldn't talk to me like that, and you shouldn't treat me that way, and the kids can hear you, and blah blah blah, blah. Just going off. Okay, I'm right. I'm just right. Right? Well, I was right about it, but I was wrong about how I went about it. Sometime, because I tried different methods. It's like, I'm gonna be quiet, I'm not gonna say anything, I'm gonna write a letter, we're gonna have a conversation. I tried to approach it in so many different ways until I realized this don't have nothing to do with you. That's his issue. And then I had to say, you know what, I love you, and you can do whatever you want to do, but you can't do it to me. And then there was the decision, okay, let me really look at what I'm doing. Because where we would go in circles, in that confusion and that chaos before, I was like, nope, I want to get off right here.
Yeah.
I'm done.
And that right there shook me to the core. I'm just like, wow, we're really going to separate? I mean,
yeah.
I know we might have talked about it, maybe even, I guess, hinted, I knew that we're getting close to a breaking point. But when the words actually came out of her mouth, well.
Yeah, it wasn't, again, because I was so wonderful that I didn't do anything wrong. It's just I was tired, and I knew that things weren't going to change until one of us changed. And realizing something that I know so well about the God, our Savior, the God that we serve, is that, there is no love without will. He will not force us to do anything. And if he didn't force me, I can't force him. And he can't force me. And so it's like, you need to take care of yourself, and you have to trust God that he's going to work things out for you. And not be in bondage about that, because people think that the only type of dysfunction or abnormal use, which is the definition of abuse, they think that's the only type. The only type is physical or sexual, but you can mistreat or misuse your words. That's why we go back and we talk about verbal communication. Again, we're talking about 5 types of communication. We've only talked about one, and then we've gone off on a tangent because we have so much to share. So please forgive us. But again, we're talking about 5 types of communication. We talked about verbal. Next, we're going to talk about nonverbal communication. Basically, nonverbal communication is, is our expressions. It's your body language. It's your mouth is saying one thing, but your body is saying something else. You might consent to being intimate, but you stiff and non-responsive, or I got a headache, or whatever it is, or you just refuse altogether, or you're leaving the house. I'm going to pick up the kids. Well, you might as well just walk out and slam the door.
I was about to say, or leaving the house and not saying
anything. That speaks volumes.
Dude, that is so loud.
Yeah.
That is so. And the sleeping in the bed.
On the rope.
On the ropes. Wow. I mean, the way it's a divide. Somebody else can get in the middle.
Right. 2 people can get in the middle. 3 people get in the middle of our bed.
And you're like, okay, well, we're not going to sleep in separate rooms. No, y'all sleeping in almost separate portions of the bed.
Yeah. But you're separated in heart. You're physically there together, but your heart is separated.
Yeah. And those expressions, the way you look at each other, the way that you might roll your eyes. You thought you was looking away, but you was a little upset about something, whatever, and you kind of rolled your eyes. You kind of,
or just avoiding eye contact altogether.
And all of those are still forms of nonverbal communication that speaks so much. The volume. I think the leaving the house thing is probably one of the most. I'm gonna put myself on blast. Disrespectful things that somebody can do. I mean, for not counting affair, nothing like that. I'm talking about just
Communication
as far as
wise.
communication wise. I think the yelling, being degrading, all that stuff. But when you just take yourself out of the relationship, abandon the relationship,
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that can hurt your marriage.
Yeah.
One of the things that can hurt your marriage, as far as communication, the most.
That's true, because what happens is the way that the person on the other end perceives it, and the way that I have perceived it is, I know I can't speak for anyone else, is I don't want to hear what you have to say. I don't want to be in your presence. What you have to say is not important to me.
Wow.
How you feel is not important to me. You don't really exist to me, because you can leave and come back and not say a word. And it's like, I have so much to say and I'm not able to say it. And then you're left with, especially if you have children, you're left with how to reconcile, how to keep the peace, how to mend the fences so that you can get back to doing life. And if that person treats you as if you're invisible, that avoidance is very disrespectful, and it's very damaging. And so we have to learn how to do better. And so far we've talked about verbal communication, nonverbal communication, and then let's talk about written communication. I mean, we live in a day and age where people don't really like write letters that much anymore.
We are, you remember when we first got the phones, cell phones. I think we call them cell phones, smartphones. And they used to have those clickable buttons, when we send text, it was clickable, and then, man, I could not operate that thing for nothing. I couldn't stand it. I'd rather just call somebody. But now, man, send me a text. But we text so much, sometimes we use texting as a form of not communicating. Like, we'll say we're communicating, but really I don't want to hear your voice, especially if I think you're upset with me about something. I don't want to hear the tone in your voice. I don't want to really see your face on FaceTime, because I know that you're probably,
because you're going to see me.
Yeah, so a text seems so safe. I can say what I want to say and send and not have to worry about it,
But the thing about that is, if you're sending an email, a text, a Facebook post, a tweet, any of that, it's so concrete. You cannot take back what you have put down.
Nope.
And then if there's already disagreement or discord in the air, if you take the time to articulate what you really mean, if that person is important enough to you, that relationship is important enough to you, then you will be careful about what you type or text, because you cannot take it back. You know that little thing we used to say when we were kids, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It's the biggest lie. That's a lie. Because some of the most hurtful things are the words that people that you love, trust, and care about may say to you. And then sometimes people will say, well, I didn't mean that, or I was just angry, or, I'm just the type of person that when I'm mad, I just say whatever. And you know what? I cannot speak for everybody, but for me, I don't say what I don't mean. Especially to people that I love. I don't say stuff just to get a rise out of you.
And that's how we operate, especially sometimes with the people we love, we say we love the most, that we're closest to. And, we want them to feel how frustrated we are, instead of them feeling how much we love and care about them. Right. It's like those things really don't matter in this moment right here.
We're not trying to communicate, we're trying to retaliate.
Yeah, so I want I'm going to send this text, and I'm going to say everything that I'm feeling, and in a text form, and bam, just
And press in.
yeah,
And then what? And then what is that person supposed to do with that information? If I'm gonna give them a piece of my mind. Well, I need all the pieces of my mind. I need to keep that to myself, and one of the things that's really important to share from a biblical standpoint is, we are cautioned to this is James 1:19. It says that let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath or the anger of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Your anger is never going to produce fruit. Your anger, my anger, is never going to put me in a position of elevation. It only elevates my pride. It only elevates my flesh. It only elevates my feelings. And then only for a moment. And then think about, how am I going to feel tomorrow?
Yeah.
When I have to look at this person that I loved and say, well, I can't stand you anyway. You ain't nothing, and you ain't never going to be nothing. And your daddy won't nothing. So, whatever we feel like we want to say, to hurt somebody.
Those coming back from the edge moments, man, I do not miss them in our relationship. And I do not miss the fact that, we might get in an argument, might even get yelled and just whatever. And then the aftermath, I walk into a room, she walk into a room, we might say hi, we might not say hi. How was you going to work? Yeah, I'm going to work. Okay, see you later. Okay. That whole awkward, like, is she still mad? Is she going to be mad? Or I do not miss that for anything. I'm so glad they're gone.
Yeah.
And sometimes the way we say things, like we're talking about 5 types of communication, the way we say things, verbal communication, the way we don't say things, and the way we write things down, all those things, we have to hold ourselves accountable because they mean so much. Because once again, we're talking about this in a marriage and how you treat your spouse. That's the person you love. You said you did.
And what is love? Love is patient. It's kind. It doesn't. What does it say? Vaunt itself or puff itself up. It's not self-seeking. It's not selfish. And so I have to, again, make an assessment about how I feel, and then examine those feelings before I open my mouth to speak, not just to my husband, but to people in general, because it's my charge to be slow to speak. Listen more. People say, and it's a simple thing, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because you should listen more than you talk. And I'm a talker, but I'm a communicator. I'm not going to just be talking out of the side of my neck just to hear myself speak. I don't want to communicate just to be right. I want to communicate for understanding.
That's right.
And I want to communicate for clarity, so that we can deal with the thing and take it off the table. So we don't have to continue.
And I want to communicate to know. I do want to know what you're thinking, how you're feeling. What's on your mind. That's communication. I want to receive back. Indicators. Is it something I can do for you? What do you need? My wife is so good because she loves to do some. She's so creative, so she loves to do so many things.
Thank you, babe.
And sometimes she can get overwhelmed. And
self-inflicted.
and I asked her. I said, "Baby, you okay?" And she's so nice. She said, "Yeah, I'm okay." She said it. But I'm saying, what was you wearing on her face?
They say I don't have my emotions well.
That nonverbal, whatever we want to call this, when she put up, I'm like, baby, that's not what that says. You're not okay. You're frustrated. You're
I'm trying to work it out. Yeah.
It's something there that I want to know more about. And so I communicate so I can know more about what's on the other person's heart.
Yeah. And what came to mind when you were just saying that is, that when you say things like that, it brings more awareness to me, self-awareness. And and I think it's important that we note that communication is the gateway to intimacy. You know, and intimacy is not just physical intercourse, but intimacy in that closeness, getting to know one another. Because see, when I communicate to my husband that, you know, I know that you're a good guy, and he knows he's a good guy too, because he done told me that, you know, I'm a good man.
Look, I was
Yeah,
about to say, why are you telling all our business? No, we can't.
because
We
people need to
volunteer.
know. Because they
We
need to know.
volunteer for that.
But that's okay. I'm going to big up you right now. I'm going to big up you. So, for him to tell me, you know, he's a good guy, and he is, you know, that the opportunity to communicate with him, it gives me the chance to say, I know that you're a good guy. I believe in you. I trust in you. I don't think my heart misled me, you know, when I fell in love with you. But there's something that's going on, and I need you to find out what it is, you know, because it is destroying the fabric of our relationship.
Exactly.
And if I come to him in that way, that's much different than me just, you know, dogging him about, you know, well, you're wrong. You shouldn't, you know, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, and you ain't no good, and I'm tired of you, and I'm leaving, and you know, I can do better, and all these other things. When what I'm really feeling is, gosh, I really love you, but you're disappointing me, and I don't know why, and I don't think it's personal, but I don't think it's intentional to me. But what's happening is it's having an effect on our relationship. And so when I communicate with him and I'm intimate with him, it lets me know, it lets him know that I care. And that opens the door for him to be transparent. Yeah, that opens the door for him to be transparent with me. And then we can move on from that. It softens his heart. And it lets his guard down, so he doesn't have to be concerned, well, she just came to attack me. No, she loves me and she wants this thing. And so let me figure out what's going on with me.
And it's this thing, this marriage. It's like we can marry people because we love them and they love us, and it feels good. Man, it just feels, it's so good.
Love is wonderful.
So good when we're good and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But she was going past that.
Right.
Because it wasn't about the feeling anymore. Yeah, our feelings were hurt, but she's trying to get to what's trying to destroy this
What's
marriage.
eating you? Yeah.
Yeah, what's destroying you? Because if you're not whole within yourself, not just because it's marriage, but within yourself, within myself, then I can degrade the relationship because I'm not bringing my whole self to it.
Right.
So she's after something more than love. You know, she's after what we committed to.
Right.
We got a whole video series
The
about
covenant.
Yeah, the covenant.
Yeah.
And I urge you to watch it. You can go to our YouTube channel or look on the Facebook group page. But find out that it's so much bigger than, oh, I just love him. I just love her so much.
Yeah.
No, but
It takes more than love, honey. Love is only going to take you so far. You know, and love is wonderful. It is the benefit of marriage. But, you know, and so is intimacy is the benefit of marriage, but it's not the whole picture.
That's right.
You know, and we'll talk about that more, and we could get lost in that. But we're going to go on to this fourth type of communication, which is one of the most important parts of or types of communication, and it's the listening. Many times we just want to talk so the other person can hear what we want to say. We want to get our point across. But listening is a huge part of communication, and that's the part that sometimes we like to do the least.
Yes, and sometimes we say we're listening. I'm listening to, you know, you heard the
You hear me.
audible words coming out of that person's mouth, but you're not listening. Because I would just get ready for a chance to interject, to jump in. I'm hearing what you're saying, but as soon as you pause
I'm gonna stop you as soon as
or
I can.
slow down some, I'm going to state my case why I was right, you was wrong, and then I'm gonna get quiet. You're gonna talk, but while you're talking, I'm not listening. I'm just waiting for another opportunity to add more evidence to point to the fact that I'm still right and you're wrong. That's not listening, fellas. That's not listening.
And ladies, because sometimes I was guilty of that too. It's like, no, but this is what I'm saying, or in sometimes in our cases, it wouldn't be waiting until I was finished saying what I was saying. It's saying what you want to say on top of what I'm saying, and that is super frustrating. And so I would sometimes be guilty of that, and he would sometimes be guilty of that. And it's like, no, well, let me talk, and then getting into the weeds of now we're going to fight about what you said and then how you said it. And then I'm going to take every word that some of y'all out here that's listening and that will be listening know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to take a word of what you said and then build an argument about that. And then drag it on about that. Yeah. Instead of really talking about what the problem is.
Yeah, I want to get specific. I want to, no, you said, and it should have been either, but you said either and it should have been neither. No, you're not right. You're not correct. You need to apologize because you're not correct about that one. Wow, we used to get so ticked. And our biggest argument was an argument about how we're arguing. And I'm just like, wow. And it just kept coming up. It just kept. Matter of fact, I think we went into an argument so long one time, I almost forgot what we was what was mad about. I was more mad at the fact that we're still talking about how I'm talking than the fact of whatever we were discussing. I don't know, the microwave was on high. I do not know. But she just kept saying that same, I hate to say this word, but that same monster raises his head. That same, I don't want you to talk to me. Don't tell me.
Yeah, that's the thing
that I'm
I was
doing
after.
Something wrong. But
because it was rarely about. My issue with you was rarely about anything other than the way you express yourself to me when I express myself to you. If I tell you something that I don't like, or if I have a question about something, and then it becomes rah, and it's like, gee, I have a right to speak my mind, to express myself without you getting so angry, and and that was just our issue for the longest time. But what it was is he had to dig up why am I so angry when I feel challenged?
Then you know it was buried.
Yeah, what's in there? What is that?
Nothing.
Why do I think my wife is my enemy?
I'm good. Ain't nothing wrong.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm big, strong man. I got this. And we just had to learn how to do better. I had to learn how not to be afraid to speak my mind, because I would speak my mind, but I would end up walking on eggshells and try to do different ways of communicating in an effort to stop that monster from raising his head. Those are his words, because I knew it wasn't my husband. It was whatever was pressing on him. And he had to get from underneath that.
A thought came to mind of like when you open a oven, it's really hot, but I still need to open it, and you open it up and you just gotta step back because that heat.
Oh gosh, that come on, give me a high five, man! You just articulated it, because it was like an emotional bomb. He wouldn't curse me, but it was like an emotional bomb, and I was like, wow, this is mind-boggling, and it was so frustrating because it's like, how could this guy love me so much and still do this? I don't get it. That's very different from the person who is constantly, who treats you that way all the time. That's their general disposition. That person that's putting their hands on you and, calling you names and, dragging you and things like that. It's like these things I would never stand for, but I see something. And it's like, God, help me understand what it is that I'm looking at. Yeah. So I don't want to destroy my marriage, but I also am not going to destroy myself in the process. So you got to help me. And I, again, just want to recap that we were talking about the 5 types of communication, and we had our communication wires all crossed. We had strained verbal communication. We had stressed nonverbal communication, we didn't do too much with the written communication.
Yeah, because at the time we didn't really have text messages, and we didn't write a lot of letters after the marriage.
Right.
Forward, I was trying to, get it.
Well, now we do write letters a little bit more, but listening, that part is what we had to learn how to do.
Mm-hmm.
I did as well, even though I was stronger in my communication skills than he was at that time. Yeah. I'm a talker. Mm-hmm. I'm a communicator. I'm an emoter. I'm not ashamed of it. It helped us, didn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
It did. Amen. Amen. Somebody had to talk. We used to be two quiet folks sitting in the restaurant, not speaking. That's who they are.
Right.
That's who
the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes you gotta holler so you can be heard. Amen, Jesus. Mm-hmm. So the listening part, I still had to learn how to do more of that, and really just figure out what's really going on. And then we get to visual communication. And visual communication is something that, you might think, I don't know so much about, how that might affect our relationship. But when you think about Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all these outlets where we're looking at a screen, for many hours a day, and then you see ads that are telling you something, they're communicating something to you subliminally or blatantly. They're screaming something to you. And sometimes our spouse might be engaged in looking at things that are screaming things at them. Mm-hmm. It could be another person's, ad or Facebook, or it could be your personal ad or Facebook. Like where you're not saying I'm angry with my wife, but you might post a meme that says.
Yeah, you see that a lot. Yeah. Here lately. I'm like, wow, they're not, they have some issues in their relationship,
And that's a true sign of a lack of communication and also a lack of maturity.
And that's a neon sign for the enemy to come on in, because I think sometimes guys just be trolling women on Facebook, and they see that they posting these. Well, it don't make no sense when somebody they live in the same house, but they don't ever speak to you. And I'm like, okay, well,
why are you telling your business?
Your house? And the only person there is your daughter and your husband.
Right. And if you're not talking about your house, sometimes what we post visually, or what we share that has been posted visually, can give people it can give them the wrong idea. Mm-hmm. Like I shared a post one time, and my husband was like, "Babe, is everything okay?" And I was sharing it because I had the sentiment like for someone else. It didn't mean anything was going wrong with me. And I don't think it was extreme, but he was like, "Are we okay? Is everything good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let me go take this post down because I didn't mean anything by it." So we can use that as another type of like passive aggressive way of complaining or acting out in our relationship. When our relationship should be between the two of us, we should be mature enough to share how we feel.
Yeah. And I think also body language can be a form of visual communication. Mm-hmm. Like the way you don't hug each other when you come home from work, if that's something that you do. Mm-hmm. The way that you don't really fully embrace if you do hug.
You give church hugs. Oh. Mm-hmm. How you doing? Yeah. And usually you squeezing me until I can't breathe, and then today you just like, okay, how you doing?
Yeah.
No.
Those visual, and they're cues, because it's like, oh, she's still upset. She's still mad.
It's a little chilly in here.
She mad. I'm going to stay mad. I was going to try to come home.
I had decided that I was not going to be mad, but since she mad.
Her visual communication.
She big mad? Oh, you big mad?
She big.
Oh, okay.
Loud and clear. I got all that message.
All right. Yeah.
So we hope these can help you maybe shine a light of something that you might have done or experienced, or might even not have known what was going on.
Yeah.
And knowing that all these cues, they send messages, good are bad.
Yeah.
And we want to just urge you to take inventory,
Self-inventory.
self-inventory of if you're doing these things, especially when you're in a disagreement. Like I said, me and my wife don't argue anymore. But even in those moments where we just might not agree on things. Now, how are we gonna? People say we want to agree to disagree. Well, how you gonna do that? You know, because you still you feel it in your heart, and it's gonna come out in the either written communication or it's gonna come out in the verbal communication. You know, if your mind is still thinking about it, then you know you can not listen. You can walk away. It's so many things that you can do, and you're like, wow. Why they're still mad at me? Because I'm good, but you're really not. You're really not.
Yeah.
Take inventory, self-inventory, and that is the key to getting past and learning and growing in marriage. Is always correcting. People say, well, you know, you wasn't like this. You ain't the same way as you were when I married you.
I am.
Yeah. Well, you also growing too.
Yeah.
You're also learning things, and you're also trying to get better as a person, you know.
Yeah.
So
and we should grow. We should grow. I said I am, and I guess I was thinking in another sense that sometimes people ignore the things that they want to. We talked about in another video how we see what we want to see. You know, you really see more of what you want and less of what you don't want. You know, so if you see a person, you know, they might. You saw a little bit of that temper before they, you know, before y'all got together. But but you saw more.
You chose to ignore it.
You chose to ignore it. And now that you live with it, it's like, oh, now I have to deal with it. And so it's not that I've become a different person. It's just that you now get to see more of the person that I am.
All the time. You got all of me, babe.
And sometimes people are, you know, they're giving you their representative. But if you are courting and not just dating, you know, and you're spending time with each other and you're communicating, then you eventually find out. And it is true what you're saying also, that we should grow and we should change. We should evolve together.
Together. Yes. And look, you made it this far in the video. We appreciate you so much. We thank God for just letting you hear, sit still, and listen. And we pray that you take something from this.
Yeah.
And if you did, please share with someone. There's so many marriages out there that are going through the path to divorce.
Yeah.
It's the divorce rate is so high. You heard about the numbers, and it's even higher in certain communities more than others because we don't get knowledge like this. We don't get accessible, or we don't make ourselves accessible to good teaching and things that we can actually learn and grow and evolve from. So if this helped you, please share with someone and leave a comment, please. I love to read your comments. Ask the questions. Yes. And check us out here on our Facebook group page. Also on our Couples Pursuit page, we leave a lot of videos there and links to our YouTube page also. So we're all over. We're trying to get the message out there that a marriage can go to the brink. You heard in this testimony right here of separation
and divorce.
And divorce.
Yeah.
And but still heal. Thank the glory be to God. Amen. Amen. So until next time, we just hope that you get something from this message, take something away, and share with someone. And we'll see you next time.
Pursue your mate. Bye.